Very good. It's 1:30, so we will begin the liquor control agenda for today. We have some guests with us today, so we'd like to welcome Steve. If you don't mind introducing them for us, and we won't ask you any test questions or anything like that, but we'd like to welcome you. Thanks for being here, and go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, this will be the easiest 15, 20 minutes of their college career here. So we have senior nursing students that are going into public health or public nursing, and as part of their curriculum, they like to attend things like a liquor control board meeting. So.
Very good. Well, thank you for being here and welcome. And hopefully this will inspire you to become involved in public service. That would be a good thing because it's a great experience. But I will, if you don't mind me telling a quick story. So there's been, we've tried to get interns, and so I've been very reluctant to have an intern because I don't want somebody following me around going, this guy is a city commissioner. I could do a better job than this guy. And so anyway, that's my fear by you being here. And then I want to have one more thing to add. Tatiana Hackman, one of our members, she and her husband have a new addition, a baby, and so we want to congratulate them. I don't think Tatiana's joining us by phone today, but anyway.
She might be. She was going to try. Yeah.
But anyway, we would just like to congratulate her regardless, and she sent us a picture, and it's a very cute baby, and so congratulations for that too. And with that, we will move on to our agenda items. We want to thank everybody for attending today. We have a few items. Number one is to approve the minutes of the August 21st, 2024 regular meeting, and we have those in front of us. If there are any changes or corrections, otherwise we will accept a motion.
So move.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other comments or questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Number two is to review liquor applications. The Vault Partners LLP doing business as Fort Knox, and this is a transfer of a Class Z, adding a new partner. And with that, Steve will start us with the conversation.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I'm jumping ahead a couple of weeks. Thank you, Commissioner. So, and I too want to congratulate Tatiana and baby Henry, and thank the board members here for their generous contribution to the time that it takes to be on this board and study these items that we have in front of us. So the liquor license transfer today is for Fort Knox, and in the background check, the background for Cole Jurek is fine, and there are no concerns there. But with the background check for Anthony Lavoie, there were some concerns about the way he answered some of the questions. And so the recommendation from the chief is to deny the applicant pursuant to some of our articles and sections. And Anthony had indicated to me he wanted to address this body, but, oh, you are here. You're Cole, okay. So, well, maybe Cole wants to get up then and address these the concerns.
Cole, if you want to, you can, but you don't have to if you don't want to. So that's okay. And I guess my questions are, so Anthony Lavoie has been involved with Fort Knox. I guess my question is more on how has it performed, and since he's been involved in the ownership. I guess that's my question.
Do you want to try to address that, Chief?
Good afternoon, Board. In terms of performance, I don't have any data on performance, but I do point to two specific questions in which they were falsely answered. And under sub 7 of the qualification guidelines, any false statement in the application process shall result in automatic refusal of the license application or immediately withdrawal or prior issuance. There's two false statements in the application. And if you note on the front, they have to do with
I don't think the full.
it's a DUI arrest from 2015, which he later pled to reckless driving, but he was issued an alcohol-related citation and did have that DUI arrest, which was not listed in his background packet.
So I guess, Chief, my question, obviously, one of them is from 14 years ago, and the other one is from, 9 years ago. And to me, it was a reckless driving, so that isn't a DUI. And so that's my issue. To me, these things happened a long time ago. And I'm going more on, he's actually been involved in the business for quite a while now. And that's what I think a lot of us make mistakes when we were younger. And I'm not trying to excuse this, but go ahead, Chief.
Sure. I understand your perspective. 9 years ago, in my opinion, wasn't that long ago, not to answer that correctly. But in addition, I've listed sub 10 of the resolution, qualification guidelines, which states any other offense determined by the board or city commission to have a direct bearing on the applicant's or manager's ability to serve alcoholic beverage in the protection of public interest. I'm not legally able to divulge any additional information, but I cite that in my reference, and I would urge you to consider that in your deliberation.
Very good. Any other comments or questions? I guess to me, I would be in support of the application and approving Mr. Lavoie because of the reasons. I just think there's a lot of things that happened a long time ago, and he isn't here, so I don't know if it wasn't done intentionally or not. But to me, he's been a responsible bar owner at this point, and for 9 years or whatever. And so I would be in support of it. But are there any other comments or questions?
Commissioner, quick question: is he a? And I guess this would be a question for Cole. Is he a managing partner that works in the business, or an investing partner? Investing partner.
Any other comments or questions? Is there anybody willing to make a motion?
I'll make the motion.
And do we have a second?
What are you making a motion to do?
To approve.
Second that motion.
Sorry.
We have a motion and a second. Any other comments?
Can I just interject here? Just, I want to be clear, is it a motion to approve both
Yes.
applicants?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry.
Any other comments or questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. And 2B is a transfer of a ABH from Great Plains Hospitality, doing business as Baymont Inn and Suites, to University Lodging, doing business as Baymont Inn and Suites, located at 1340 21st Avenue South. And it's an ownership change, but we're going to continue that. And maybe you can just talk a little bit about the continuation, Steve.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner. So we received the application back from PD with the background check, but there were some additional questions that needed to be answered, and so we have now turned that back around to PD. And so at this point, I think we'd just be better off continuing it for another month, and then we can proceed from there.
Okay, and so basically, it will just be on our next agenda, and so if someone's willing to make a motion to continue that, that's what we'll do. Do we have a motion?
Motion to continue.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Number 3 is the Police Department monthly report, a general report, and Chief Cebulski.
Okay, thank you, sir. On the monthly report, nothing of significance unless there's any specific questions. I did have just a PowerPoint to run through some of the where we're at so far this year. And I'm happy to take questions after that. September bar checks, not too many, but we did get a couple in there. Top 5 calls for service. Again, these don't necessarily relate to alcohol-related issues, just the places that we've been called to the most in the month of September. That's already on there. Bar check comparison, I think what we're seeing is a decrease in bar checks and bar issues overall. This report is probably one of the smallest that we've gotten in a long time, so I think that's a positive note that we, have addressed most of the problem issues that are, at least that we're aware of, and we're kind of adjusting accordingly. And then our monthly comparison on liquor establishment forms, again, that's also down. So it looks like, again, we're spending much less time. We have a couple of places that we do have some calls and time consumed that we are currently working on, and we'll have more probably going forward for the board. But overall, I think we're seeing a lot of reductions in many of the categories, which is good. So absent any questions, I think that would conclude my report.
So, Chief, I have a couple questions. One is, so when obviously schools come back, is there an increase in issues or not necessarily?
Well, there's certainly an increase in probably the amount of people.
Right.
I think yes and no. Right now, we haven't seen any significant issues. We've run a couple of also special operations enforcement and more presence on certain weekend nights where there's events. But by and large, a lot of really good compliance across the board.
Okay, that's great. And then the other one of the issues was one of the bars was open after hours. They were not serving alcohol. And can you just talk, do we have a consistent policy and how did that go?
That's under review right now. That is one of the locations that we've had some other issues with, and we'll have some likely information for the board here in the near future regarding that.
Because I mean, our rules are very clear about at 2:00 you have to stop serving, but I guess that's the issue is they were open after 2, and so, they were hopefully there was no alcohol being served, but are they still allowed to be open? That to me that's an interesting issue.
Mm-hmm. And I believe that's still under review by the city attorney because even after 2:00 they're limited in terms of who can be there and what their function is.
Okay.
So,
no, I appreciate that. And one of the things was we had talked about, especially in the wintertime, at 2:00 to have everybody go outside if there was a way to gradually let people out. Anyway, but the other thing is you have to be in concert with what the rules are. And so I think we're waiting for the city attorney to address that. So,
right, there is an ordinance on it.
Okay.
So just waiting for review.
okay. Unless there's any other questions, that's it. Thank you for the presentation, Chief.
Thank you.
And then we'll move on to number 4. And 4A is liquor audits update. And Steve, while you're coming up, if you wouldn't mind just giving us how many of the, we've had some people using the ID scanners. How many are being used? How many do we have potentially? Thank you.
Okay, so for the liquor audit update, so I just wanted to kind of let you know, we have sent out notices to right around 30 to 35 food vendors or restaurants that are required to do food sales. And then on the server training, we did between 70 and 75 where they're doing that server training audit or examination. As far as the scanners, the last I checked in with Robin Litke and the scanners that we have available, I think we had about 15 total and we had about 5 of them deployed. So anybody that would like to get one of those scanners and use that, on a temporary basis or until there's demand for that scanner, I think you contact Robin Litke at the Farcast Public Health and she'd be able to help you out with that.
I'd appreciate that because I do think, and maybe anybody here and anybody in the audience, if you have somebody that you could approach to ask them to try it, that's the main thing is we just want people to try it to see if it's a benefit to them. And so I just think whatever we can do to encourage that would be a good thing. So I'm sorry for not having that ahead of time, but I appreciate that. Go ahead.
Well, that's really it for the liquor audit updates. For the number B, the license renewal update, we this week end of last week we mailed out notices to right around 50 businesses for their quarterly renewal, and that will bring us then to 12/31 year end kind of thing. And with those, we chose a lot of the corporate type of licensees, the Applebee's, the Red Lobsters, and those types of businesses. And part of that thinking was that the state renews on 12/31, and we thought if their license then was renewing on 12/31 also, it'd be easier for them to remember and reply in a in the right time frame, the right manner. And so we worked through a few issues the first quarter, and I think we've kind of got that down. We've adjusted our forms a little bit, and asked some additional questions, put some additional verbiage on, that says that they're agreeing to do the background check and some of that kind of stuff. I did get one question from somebody thinking that they were exempt from it, but explained to them what we were doing and they were fine with that. So I'm sure that in the short term, we'll start seeing those turn around relatively quickly. We asked for them to be back by October 31st so that would give PD, a month or two to do all of those background checks that are involved with that. And then we'd bring it to City Commission right before the end of the year so we could issue the licenses that would have a 12/31/2025 expiration.
Okay, and then 4C is a recommendation to request the city commission direct the city attorney to amend 25-1509 relating to alcohol service after the licensed premise is closed.
So this is kind of a staff initiated measure here to close a little loophole or a little gap that we had. We had a business that closed the doors, and weren't open to the public, but then some of the staff stayed around afterwards. Now it was closed, it was a restaurant, so they closed about 10 o'clock or something like that. And the ordinance says that must quit serving alcohol by 2. So what we're doing is sort of saying, once that restaurant is closed for business, the alcohol has to quit too. So if you're okay with that, I'd look for a motion so that we could bring that to the city commission to direct the city attorney to make that change.
So I don't know if anybody has any questions, but just to clarify, what you're saying is sometimes a restaurant would close, but then the employees could stay there, and technically they could still consume alcohol till 2. So I guess that's
That was the loophole. Were they in violation of the ordinance? Because they were closed, but it wasn't 2. So yeah, that's.
Anybody have any questions on that on the committee?
Yeah, I would have a question there. Because I think it occasionally happens. What about a restaurant that closes to the public but closes it because they're having a private party?
Well, I think that's a different situation that we wouldn't be looking at. I probably should have the attorney come up and answer that. 1 second. Okay.
You don't have to come up, but I just think the main concern is to make sure that is included, that particular thing is addressed along with it. Or you can come up and talk.
Hi, Assistant City Attorney William Wisher. So, that would still qualify under the ordinance as being open to the public. So whether it was open to a private party or not, it would still be under those same restrictions. They could still say they're open, but they could be open then till 2 a.m. It's just the thing we're trying to prevent is if the business is closed, there's not drinking going on behind closed doors.
And then one other quick question: would it make sense to, since you're going to be addressing this, to combine the other issue that the chief's talking about, where we have places that allow people to stay on the premises after the liquor license has been closed for the night, so to speak?
So, well, that's related to restaurants, and their restaurant operation is continuing, but the alcohol service is ending. And so that's the part that the attorneys are working on clarifying and moving forward. Did I say that right?
I think so. Right now, the way that the ordinance is drafted, Steve's correct, that you're allowed to serve food and you're also able to put on entertainment purposes. So some businesses, you're allowed to have dancing, serving food, things like that. It's just the alcohol has to cease by that time.
In the old days when, bars were closed on Sundays in North Dakota, I worked at a Ramada Inn when I was in high school and set up the tables and stuff. But they used to have to cover the liquor, which I always thought was kind of crazy, but they used to, put a cover over the bar and in the banquet room. So they took some of this stuff more seriously. And the reason for my question is, and I understand, we have truck stops that have a little bar in there, and we certainly wouldn't want to have to close them because they're probably serving all through the night. But I think that we may have a situation here where somebody is trying to take what we issued a restaurant or an FA license, and it's become a nightclub, and they want this nightclub to continue into the wee hours of the morning. And I think I think most of us know what we're talking about. I think there's some danger in that situation. And I've also heard reports that people were seen drinking alcohol, whether it was, they went and got it in the car and came back into the restaurant, et cetera. So I think that is a serious issue that the chiefs brought up in looking at. And I also think that most of the industry that is competing with them in the alcohol business, they don't expect to be able to say, well, it's 2:00. We want to keep our customers here till 3:00, but we'll just serve them coffee. They want to get their the bar closed. So anyway, I don't have any answers, but I think it's an important issue.
And if I can make one request, just once the attorney has gotten the language, to make sure that you get it to us, so that, because like the people from the industry, this is the first they're seeing it, so they want to make sure that they have a chance to review it, and they will have opportunities for this, correct? Once you come up with the wording, we'll have chance for public opportunity for comment.
Yes, we did include some draft language in your packet, so it is in there. The opportunity for the industry to comment on it would be as it works through city commission and has receive and file first reading, second reading. There'd be a 6-week process through that.
So that's my main thing. There's maybe some technical things that people in the industry, we don't see, that they might have some concerns about, and we want to make sure they have opportunity for comment.
Sure. Yep.
Okay?
And to address Bob's comments too, and the food, it's, I think we'll see more clarity here in the next, 30 to 60 days as we move forward.
Sure. And so if you don't mind coming up and making a comment and just introduce yourself, and anybody else wants to make comments, we'd welcome you to. So go ahead.
My name is Rick Carrick from Rick's Bar, and I'd request when you're drafting the ordinance or taking a look at it, you would possibly take into consideration, what if an establishment decided to close early, say on a Sunday afternoon before Christmas, and want to bring in a bunch of pizzas or something for the staff, just an appreciation before they, end of the year, or, some sort of a deal like that. Just give that some consideration, that they could do that as long as it's before 2 a.m. So, thank you.
Thank you. And like we said, we'll have other opportunities for public comment, but I just think we want to make sure that we look at the potential things that other questions that people will have. So other than that, do we, any other comments or questions? Otherwise, if we're ready to make the motion.
And again, this motion is just to direct the city commission to direct the attorney to make the ordinance changes.
Motion to direct.
Thank you.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other comments? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. And 4D is recommend to request the city commission direct the city attorney to make revisions to 2515 relating to alcohol-related penalties. Steve?
And this one we did talk about at our brown bag that we had a month or so ago. And what we're talking about here is that pulling the penalties out of the individual sections and then working on setting up some kind of that point system that we talked about with, so it'd be similar to like the driver's license. So, serving to a minor is 1 point, but, something else maybe 10 points or something like that. And if you get to 15 points, your license gets suspended for 2 days or something. I mean, we've really got a long way to go on that one, and to work out all the details on it. And it'll be back here many times before we actually get that committed to an ordinance. But I think that when we consider if you allow a minor in the liquor establishment, it's a $500 penalty for a first offense. If you serve a minor in a liquor establishment, it's a $500 penalty for a first offense. And that's the kind of thing. It needs to be. We feel like it needs to be more cumulative, and then we would build in some kind of a if you go 24 months or something like that with no penalties, then your penalties are reduced, or some of those kind of things. Those are our broad thoughts at this point.
I guess one of the concerns is I think there can be a limit to how long. I think it can't be 24 months. I think it has to be like a year, because I think with your driver's license, it isn't over a number of years. It's just a 1 year and then it resets. So to me, that's one of the questions we have to ask. How long is that? And I don't know the answer to that, but that's just one of the questions I would have.
We will probably end up having to have a working group session on this, lay out some different alternatives, start getting the feel, invite the industry in for their input also. Just right now, if you had somebody that's not paying attention to the ordinances, they could have violations in so many different categories and always be a first offense. And we just don't feel like that is written. And again, this would be to direct the city commission, request city commission direct the city attorney to start working on it. And this will probably be a 6-month long year-long process to get to something.
Well, Steve, I've been around for 15 years, and it's been a 15-year process so far. So I like the whole optimism of a 1 year. And my concern is when you direct the attorney and the city commission, we're not even close to that. That's my concern. I mean, we've talked about this, and it's very complicated. And to say, well, now we're going to do. This is just my opinion. We're not ready to do. We're not at that point. And so, like I said, it takes a lot. And to me, to just say, well, now we're going to do it. I don't believe we're at that point. That's just my opinion. I'd be interested in hearing other people in the audience, but it's a complicated issue and controversial. And so I think you have to be careful. That's my comments. Thank you.
Would you be open to more of a working group session again to talk about just that item?
I would be very much in favor of having a brown bag working session where we did that round table, something along that line first.
Okay.
Before we start directing the city attorney. I don't know if anybody else has any comments, but to me, it's a big thing. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Bob.
I do, Commissioner. And I don't know if this is how this would work with open record laws, et cetera, but when they get to that point, when the attorneys are developing this or whatever, and there may be other people on the volunteer part of this board that would be willing to spend some time communicating with them too on a one-on-one basis. And at the same time, I know a lot of people in the industry because of the previous job I had before I retired, and I could, start some communication back and forth that way. So again, I understand there's open record laws and stuff, but I think if it's one-on-one with the attorney, and because I mean the point system makes sense to me, it's understandable, et cetera. But maybe we have a point system where there's positive points that they get for, going to, doing well with server training or going so long without any violations or, on the different things. So, maybe we can make something that's a little more dynamic that brings the trade into it more, and they're also recognized for the things they do well. But anyway, I would be glad to volunteer my time for that if that opportunity fit what you guys want to do. So.
That's excellent comments, Bob. That's why you're a member of this committee. So thank you for those. And one, if you don't mind me jumping on board that. So if you had a scanner, then you get points reduced. That's just a concept right there. And if you go so many, anyway, I really like that. To have positive things too instead of always thinking of the negative perspective. So that was excellent.
I
Go
agree.
ahead.
I think that establishments should get some type of reward. It seems like sometimes they do it on the back end versus on the front side. So to get the positive reinforcement on the front side would be a good buy-in.
So I like the concept of having the workshop type of thing first before we put this back on the agenda, if that's okay with you. And you can, whenever we can get that on the calendar, that'd be great.
Yep.
Very good. So that's the last item on the agenda, but I do have a homework assignment. If any of you students have any questions for us, come up and give your name. And if you have any questions for any of the liquor control board. We have owners of bars and restaurants here, so if you want, you don't have to, but this is your chance. You can go up to the podium and talk to real life politicians, and it's really quite thrilling. I can imagine. So, but if you have any questions about how we make rules or anything like that, so anyway, this is your chance. If you want to, you're welcome to.
When you said homework, I thought you were going to tell them to go to Chubb's. Or the turf, or Rick's, or
Yeah.
anyway,
Yeah.
all the places, but
Anyway, you're welcome to if you want to. Otherwise, you can talk to us afterwards too. But thank you for coming and hope you enjoy it. Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, one other comment. I was asked to look into bringing North Dakota Safety Council back for de-escalation training. I think we can probably get that worked out in January, February timeframe, something like that. So we'll continue working on that. We weren't able to nail down an exact day or time yet.
I would urge anyone to go. I would go again. It was extremely beneficial for any profession to go through that. It was very well. You could tell that he's done this presentation many times. Has a great background, and there was a lot of takeaways from it.
And that's probably something nurses could use too. That's a good
Well,
de-escalation business.
Yes,
it was fantastic. And so, Steve, as soon as you can let us know when that is going to be, and we'll try to get the word out, because bars and restaurants aren't the only ones that could benefit from that. And it was a really good training from, he had real life stories, real life experience. And so it was eye-opening and very interesting. So I would encourage people to participate. And with that, it's 2:02. Unless there's any other business, we are adjourned. Have a good afternoon.